Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your friend Omar Korta from University of Jambi. Today I'm here to discuss with you about the global conservation area. Since now the global conservation area is the key thing now people have to discuss because nowadays people are facing a lot of things from our conservation areas. So this presentation here will provide an overview of the what management and conservation area worldwide. Conservation areas are essential for what preserving biodiversity, protecting natural sources and maintaining what the ecological balance. Effective management strategies also crucial to address like the things such as habitat loss, climate change, and human encouragement or approaching well explore various approaches, so challenges and success in conservation area managed globally. So today this is what we're gonna discuss, so let's dive into it. But before we dive into it, conservation area must be defined into what three main aspects. So these three main aspects, why are they have to discuss on main three main aspects? Because we have different type of conservation areas. Yeah, so please let's go. Number one, we talk about what protected areas. So this protected area, what are the protected area? Legally established area designed by what biodiversity, for biodiversity. So these are like parks, natural parks, Abukona Nature Reserve. So these are parks with what government preserve it. They put animals there, some little type of tree species inside there, and birds and so many things. They put them there to conserve them, to preserve them for the future people, like for the future generation. And also indigenous and community conservation areas, these are areas which there are trees, you understand, our forests. They preserve it for what, for conserve it, for the community, and also for the indigenous people who live in the forest. So they preserve this area for them. People, government also have like a policy that are implemented to this area so that it can be kept for them. And also we have private conservation area. So this one, the land is owned and managed by one private individual, organization, or business for conservation purposes. These areas might include nature reserves, conservation, assessment, or what sustainable farm. So sometimes people use this for, like I said, like maybe WKS can be a real example for this. Yeah, so it's owned by individual, but there is preservation for it. Okay, and also we have case strategies of conservation, adaptive management. We also have community engagement, and also how will I call it, ecosystem based management. So it's very important, you understand. So if you talk about the adaptive management, it's a flexible approach of individual management or monitoring, evaluation, and also adjustment of management practice based on what, on outcomes. So you have to preserve them. Adaptive, you have to adopt them, and the outcome also what must be seen. Also we have involvement of local communities, engaging the how like communities. So this one you must involve like extension workers. They make sure like they involve the communities to make sure what they preserve the conservation area. The species that are there is we don't lose them. They make sure like we sensitize them. And also we have the ecosystem based management. So integrated approach to this, consider what the entire ecosystem, including ecological, social, and economic component. So ecosystem based management also is very key role, or is play vital role in terms of conservation area management. There are many also trees that there are many trees that are also facing, that conservation areas are facing a lot. you know if you go to Africa now, we are losing a lot of trees. If you go to not only in Africa but many part of the world, in Indonesia here also, we are facing a lot of trade in our conservation areas. Forests have been cutting down for many different purposes. So habitat loss is something that is destruction or the destruction of fragmentation of natural habitat due to what the agriculture. So agriculture, most of the time, if you don't practice uh, agroforestry system, there are trees that you will be cutting, and when you cut down the trees, the conservation area will be limited. You are, even if you do practice ecotourism, but now you are also removing the down cleared of, you are clearing the down part. So after clearing the down grasses, like, the conservation area of that particular place will be reduced. The quality will not be no more, since you cut down everything and you are using pesticides, chemical, to preserve your crops. you know it affects the biodiversity or conservation areas. And also climate change. Climate change is something that we are facing. The whole world is facing climate change at the moment. you know so alternate how will I call it? Alteration of the global warming pattern due to what increasing greenhouses gas emission, climate change lead to what shift in species disruptions, habitat degradation, and increased frequency of what extreme weather events. And also we have poaching and illegal wildlife trade. Now this is becoming a business. People are taking our wildlife, sending it to other countries, trading them. This really affect the wild species. We are going to extinct them all if we don't keep them at one place. We preserve them in the conservation areas. So it's really affecting the biodiversity and the conservation areas a lot. you know yeah. And we also have a places to, like, conservation areas. There are successful places uh, which have been preserved successfully, and till now it is still going stronger. So kudos to Costa Rica and Costa Rica National Park. So this place covered approximately 25% of territory. It is very, very good, and they preserve it. It's rich with biodiversity and trees, different type of tree species. And we have Bohutians community for conservation. This area also is national happiness and the what prioritize environmental sustainability. So they are very good also. So also we have Africa community how will I call it, conservance. So this place is a place like where I also come from. Africa, no, even though we are losing a lot of conservation area, but kudos to DR Congo, kudos to Kenya, and also many part of the countries in Africa who are making so, like, they promote the conservation areas. So there are rules or key technique that we can use now, since we are in the modern world, to what, to preserve the conservation areas. What are these things? So remote sensing is number one of them, like satellite image, how will I call it, imagery, and RL survey are used to what, monitor the habitat changes. So satellite image is also very good, like remote sensing, yeah. So GIS, which is geographical information system, also used for map analysis, spatial data related to what, conservation areas. So it helps all planting, how like planning and protect the areas boundaries, managing and resource, assessing the impact of the human activities. So drone also is something that is very important nowadays, since it is a low cost to take the vehicle and surround the conservation area to check whether if there is any impact. But if you use your drone, it can go fly, and check everywhere for you while you are staying at one place. Is also very key important area. So founding conservation effort. Who are the founding conservation area? Is number one is government, because government are the people who enforce law to us. They are the one who have to make sure, like, the sensitize people, because they are we are all under them. So if government really support the conservation, then there must be good, preserve conservation areas and good ecosystem for biodiversity. which is rich in biodiversity. And also we have philanthropist donation. Philanthropists also, don't have to be stingy nowadays, but they are making their how will I call, there are many philanthropists who are making donors to make sure like what our conservation areas are preserved. Philanthropists, kudos to them. And also ecotourism revenues. So the tourism, places where we charge people to pay before they enter, those revenues that we collect from the tourists also help a lot for preserving the conservation areas. And international aid at large. International aid also is something that people always need to make sure like we preserve the conservation areas. So there are many also challenges. There are a lot of challenges that we face in, if you talk about the uh, preservation areas. But future, nobody is talking about it. So challenges and future direction. Challenges in the future direction. People don't talk about the future. People only talk about what we are facing now. But what will come in the future is remain, nobody knows. So balancing conservation and development. We need to what, balance the conservation and develop it. How are we going to balance this conservation, finding way to what, reconcile conservation goals with need of local communities, ecosystem development? So this required involving or innovation and solution and collaborative approaches, the whole world. This is not about individual countries. So this is very important to my own perspective. And addressing climate change impact. Climate change impact also is something that we are facing a lot. No country in the world we now say we are not facing climate change. Every part of the world is talking about climate change, climate change. What are the key things that we have to do to stop this climate change impact? We need to plant more trees and preserve our conservation areas. So stringent governance and enforcement. So this stringent government and enforcement is also very important. Why it is more important? They are the policy makers. You understand? Even us, we make a policies, they will approve our policies. If our policies are not matched with their policies, then it's not gonna be work, or it's not gonna work. They are the law enforcers, the government. So we have to make sure like we enforce governance. Every part of the governance in the world have to make sure like we enforce governance in our preservation areas to what, to save our endangered species, to make sure like all our species will not go endangered or lose them all. So it's something that we really need, to strengthen governance and how will I call it, law, to enforce the law and make a good policies in terms of forest conservation or anything. So this is the end of the slide of my presentation. So I want to give you this for a donor, like the key takeaway and next steps. So effective management of conservation areas is essential for what, protecting biodiversity and maintaining ecosystem service. Adaptive management, community engagement, and ecosystem-based approaches are key strategies addressing threats such as habitat loss, climate change, and poaching require concert effort. Future direction include balancing conservation and development, mitigating climate change impact, and what, strengthening governance is key. So, as a next step, environmental professionals, conservation and policymakers need to learn, share, implement ideas for presentation. This time is the time to act is now to preserve our forest. So we don't have to say, let's wait for tomorrow. The more you wait, the more we are losing. I thank you all for your kind attention. Don't forget to subscribe to my bio. Then I will send the link to I will send the link for my for the research site. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.